The old building where Mike lived had been standing for more than 50 years. The walls were thin, the hallways long, and the doors creaked loudly. Mike lived on the 4th floor, the last one still occupied. The 5th floor, right above him, was completely empty. Or so everyone said. At night, the wind whistled through the cracks in the windows, and the whole building seemed to breathe with it. During the day, everything looked normal. People walked up and down the stairs. One morning, on his way to work, Mike passed a young man with tired eyes. They exchanged a polite nod, as they always did. Nothing unusual. The janitor, an old man, always avoided talking about the 5th floor. Whenever someone asked, he would just say in a sharp tone, "It's been closed for years." Why so long? Mike often wondered. For the first few weeks, nothing happened. He heard only the distant traffic and the creaking of the old wood. Until one rainy night, Mike woke up to the sound of footsteps coming from the ceiling. They were slow, heavy, dragging. Each step made the ceiling vibrate. The next morning, there was nothing. No noise, no sign of life above him. He tried to convince himself it was just his imagination. After all, the 5th floor was supposed to be empty. That night, after a long day at work, Mike fell asleep on the couch. The building was silent, almost too silent. But exactly at 2 a.m., the same footsteps began again, same rhythm, same weight. Fear mixed with curiosity. Who or what was walking in the apartment above his? And then, a deep breath brushed against his ear. A cold wind brushed his arms, cutting through him like ice. Mike is about to discover that time doesn't work normally in this building before he goes upstairs. If you want more stories like this to train your English, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us create more fear. Now look at your clock and comment with the exact time and date you started watching. Remember it, because in this story, time is the key. The next morning, Mike woke up with heavy eyes and a feeling of exhaustion. The clock showed 8:13. The apartment was even quieter than usual. He looked up at the ceiling, the same spot where he had heard the footsteps, and noticed a small crack that hadn't been there before. The sound of that breath from the previous night still echoed in his mind. Determined to understand what was happening, Mike climbed the stairs to the 5th floor. The hallway was different. The air felt heavier, and the lights flickered slowly, casting moving shadows on the peeling walls. The number plates from the apartment doors had fallen to the floor. Except for one, the number 501, the apartment directly above his. Mike approached slowly. When he reached out to touch the door, the creaking of the wooden floor was terrifying. He froze, immediately sensing that he shouldn't be here. Silence returned, thick and almost tangible. Yet he pushed the door hard, but it didn't open. It was locked from the inside. Mike tried to turn the handle, but it was useless. The lock seemed rusted, as if sealed by time. He pressed his ear against the cold wood. No sound, no breathing, only the faint hiss of the wind passing through the cracks of the building. But as he started to back away, he heard 2 slow, deliberate knocks on the other side of the door, as if someone knew he was there. Mike ran down the stairs, his heart pounding, trying to make sense of what he had just heard. In the hallway of the 4th floor, the janitor was waiting for him. "You went up there, didn't you?" The old man asked, his eyes filled with a mix of anger and fear. Mike hesitated. I heard noises. I wanted to know if someone—" "No one lives there," the old man snapped. "Be smart and don't go up again." That night, Mike tried to sleep, but sleep never came. At 2 a.m., the first sound, footsteps exactly like before. He looked up at the ceiling, and then a whisper echoed in his ear. "You will have the answers you're looking for." Strangely, the clock still showed 2 a.m., but now the footsteps were coming from the hall. Mike stood still for a few seconds, as if frozen to the floor. The footsteps outside were the same as in the previous nights, but now they sounded heavier, angrier. Each step followed by a wet noise, as if something was dripping onto the floor with every movement. He looked toward the door of his apartment. A shadow stretched out from underneath it, long, distorted, swaying from side to side. Time seemed to have stopped. The clock on the wall still showed 2 a.m. Mike took a deep breath and tried to think rationally. Maybe he was dreaming, maybe it was just exhaustion. Or fear. The doorknob began to turn slowly. The air seemed to vanish from the room. Breathing became difficult. It felt like the air itself had solidified. Not knowing what else to do, he grabbed his phone. No signal. The power flickered, and then every light in the apartment went out at once. Only the sound remained. The sound of footsteps. Now, closer. Mike walked carefully to the door and looked through the peephole. Nothing, but the hallway wasn't empty. The air outside seemed to pulse, and a faint murmur, almost like a chant, echoed from somewhere distant. Paralyzed by fear, he felt as though invisible arms were holding him in place. And then a whisper came from the other side.
Why?
Mike, frozen, stared at the door. The shadow underneath it looked different now, darker than the darkness around it. Suddenly, the pressure holding him vanished, freeing his body. He stepped closer to the door again and saw something on the other side, an eye. In a burst of terror, Mike turned on his phone's flashlight and ran to the window. But there was nothing he could do. It was too high to jump. Suddenly, a blast of freezing air swung the door open violently, and then disappeared. The hallway was completely dark. He could only see a faint light flickering near the staircase that led to the 5th floor. Then the sound stopped. The clock started ticking again. 2:01 a.m. Mike took a deep breath, relieved for a moment, but he knew something had changed. The air felt normal again, just colder. The silence was heavier. And when he turned back toward the sofa, he saw something on the floor, a dark, wet footprint. His eyes followed it. The footprint led straight to the door of his bedroom. And before he could react, the voice returned, closer now, coming from inside.
You were looking for answers, Mike.
Now it's time to go upstairs again. Mike felt his whole body go cold. The voice still echoed inside the room, but no one was there. The sound seemed to come from the walls, from the ceiling, from everywhere. He stepped back slowly, stumbling over his own shadow until his back hit the living room wall. The silence returned, not a peaceful silence, but one that carried the heavy weight of being watched. The wet footprint had vanished. Barely thinking anymore, Mike grabbed his jacket and his phone. If something wanted him upstairs, he decided he would go. Maybe it was fear disguised as courage, but he needed to do something. He needed to end it. The hallway was cold, almost damp. Each step up the staircase to the 5th floor creaked louder than the day before. As he climbed, the light from his phone flickered, as if something was interfering with it. A faint humming filled his ears, and the closer he got to the top, the stronger it became. A deep, steady sound like the heavy breathing that had haunted him for days. When he reached the 5th floor, the air felt completely different. There was a smell of mold and rust. The walls seemed to breathe. A flickering yellow light blinked at the end of the corridor. All the doors were closed, except for apartment 501, the same one that had been locked just days before. Mike approached slowly, his footsteps echoing down the dead corridor. When he touched the door, he felt it cold, almost freezing. As he got closer, it creaked and opened by itself, slowly. The inside of the apartment was dark and empty, except for a single chair in the middle of the room. On the seat lay an old battery lantern. Mike turned it on. His phone had already shut off the moment he stepped into apartment 501, even though the battery had been full. The lantern's beam revealed handprints on the walls that the phone's light hadn't shown. Some small, some huge, all dark as if made of ash. The floor was covered in footprints, the same ones he had seen inside his own apartment. Trembling, he walked through the room, desperate for answers, but the deafening silence swallowed everything. Until suddenly a scream shattered it.
Why? Why did you come up here?
The lantern flickered, and for a brief instant he saw a shadow rushing from the window, which had opened on its own. Mike spun around in terror. Nothing. But now the chair was facing the door, and on it lay something new, an old photograph, showing a face he already knew. The photograph trembled in Mike's hands. The image was faded and stained, but two figures were still visible, a man and a woman standing in front of the same building where he lived. The man in the picture was an exact match for the young neighbor Mike saw every morning on his way to work. Mike stepped back, trying to make sense of it. On the back of the photo, there was a date and time written in faded ink. March 12, 1983, 2 a.m. He looked around, and for a brief moment the air seemed to change. The walls seemed to be closing in on him. A metallic sound echoed from the hallway, the noise of a key turning in a lock. He turned toward the chair. The photograph was now framed on the wall, glowing faintly as if it were alive. Mike was certain now, this building held questions that logic could never answer. Then, the image of his young neighbor appeared right in front of him, along with a chilling voice that whispered,
"Welcome home."
Mike couldn't understand the message and tried to run toward the door, but it was useless. His steps were heavy, dragging, painfully slow. The air was thick and the silence echoed through apartment 501. He started to lose consciousness until everything went black. Sometime later, he woke up. The room looked identical to his own apartment. Same furniture, same couch, same wall clock. But the clock was frozen at 2:17 a.m. and the photograph on the wall had changed. Mike picked up the photo. The time written on it matched the clock exactly. Before he could react, the lights flickered and the ceiling began to creak. He screamed, but no sound came out. The portrait on the wall was now of himself, with the date, May 31st, 2022 to 2:17 a.m. The lantern slipped from his hand. Darkness swallowed everything, and in that pitch-black silence, he heard them again, the slow, dragging footsteps echoing above him, just like those first nights that now seemed to fade away into nothing. The next morning, the janitor found apartment 401 locked. No sign of Mike, only a trail of wet footprints scattered along the hallway floor. He smiled, wiped them away, and sealed off the floor. The apartment above. Mine isn't just a story to scare you. It's an auditory experience designed to help you improve your English. Every sound, every word, every whisper is a chance to train your listening skills and expand your vocabulary through immersive storytelling. Fear becomes learning. If you enjoyed this story, before you move on to the next one, please subscribe, and share this video with your friends. It really helps us create more stories like this and keep this channel alive for you. Now, stay alert for the footsteps above your own apartment.